RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to a late edition of The Rational Investor. I actually forgot. We had a stream today, and I was all ready to go to the coffee shop to do some work there, which is where I like to work. And I remembered we had to do a daily brief. I forgot that it was Friday, actually. Life is going well when you forget what day of the week it is. That's how you know that things are going well. So sorry about that, guys. We're about an hour to an hour and a half later than I normally like to run these. So I do apologize. But with that in mind, not actually that much to talk about today. We're going to talk about a couple things, but I think I'm going to try to keep this under about 30 minutes because we're kind of in no man's land here. Like, this is the Bitcoin chart. This is the thing you guys are really interested in. And we're just having a general pullback before the next move higher, right? This was the big move that I called. And then this is the next move up to here, somewhere around 136, but we could go lower and then we go to 130 something. That would actually line up better. And that's where I could see us going. I'm not sure why we don't have my 4.668 here. So this was the big W, right? Like that. And we kind of hit the levels right there, right? And the next is 133. So now we're pulling back to that 1.38. We could pull back all the way down to 117, 118. So look, I'm going to go through Bitcoin first. We can talk about the S&P later. S&P is kind of in la-la land for me. I'm not really making any big bets. I'm a little bit hedged on the short side because we've got a TD8 that's coming here, potentially a 9 that comes in today. So I'm cautious on the S&P, and you can see we also have divergence on MACD and also RSI. Not really confirmed on RSI, but MACD it's starting to confirm. So very cautious, even though we're still in this uptrend. We also hit my target here, 6,650 area since mid-September, but we've continued slowly upward. That's really. I'll come back to it. I want to talk about Bitcoin for right now. I think there's a lot of people really interested in Bitcoin, and I want to go over quickly what my game plan is for alts and for Bitcoin. So as I said in the Discord, I'm still fully long 100% altcoins. Okay, I expect some kind of alt season to happen, but I'm playing it with spot. I'm not using any leverage because who knows how low they can go, when they're going to bounce, so on and so forth. I think it's just too risky, so I avoid that. I've been burned before by it. I don't want to make that mistake again. Now, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, I am in longs and leverage longs in particular on Bitcoin, and I'm looking to get into leverage longs on Ethereum. I'm actually in one already. I had a long here at around 42.80, and I had another one at 43.10, so I'm filled on those two. But I have longs going down all the way to about 4,100, okay? And I'll get stopped out if we go below that. If we go below like 450, I'm out. But if we keep going down, which I hope we do, I want to get filled all the way down to here. And then I want to see a move higher. That's what I would like to see. I'm filled a little bit already. In case we do go higher. I'm like I mentioned also in the Discord, down here was pretty clear that we were going to bounce and move higher. At this level, yes, I'm sure we're going to bounce and go higher. However, I don't know the exact area we're going to bounce from. It could be here. It could be here. It could have been right here. That could be the last area, and now we're just going to go straight up. That's why I posted multiple charts in the Discord outlining different scenarios. For now, on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, you can see here, we have not crossed over with RSI. However, we could at any time, and then it's liftoff, right? And with the daily chart, we're still above this midpoint, which points to bullish continuation, and we're just consolidating after we hit a TD8. See how well those Tom DeMark signals work. Look at how well that works. You need to have this on your chart. You need to have it. If you don't have it, you're missing out on some serious alpha. But I don't know how far down they're going to spike this. I'm looking at this area, 30-day VWAP, 90-day VWAP, these areas to spike down. This is kind of the beginning of the big move. I think there's probably a lot of late longs that got in here. I will be surprised if they don't try to take those out. But there's no guarantee that they won't. But there is a guarantee that if this goes up without me adding, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. So that's why I'm layering longs. I have my first long actually right here, 119.300. Then I've got another one right at the top of my trend heuristic, 118.100, right below this kind of support level. And then I've got another at 30-day VWAP and another at 90-day VWAP, the lowest being this 116 area. I haven't set one here, but I might at 114 as well. These are little levels, like adding 10%, 10%, 10% to a position at a time. Nothing huge. So don't think that like I'm just betting the farm each time. It's very small additions. If we get down here, I might even enter like a 3x size compared to these, just because it's a better, obviously better entry, and at a major support right here. This is the biggest amount of price action other than here since the rally took place. So this would provide the most support. But I'll be shocked if we get that low. Just don't see it. However, here, let me point out something and why I'm leaning to this. This downtrend's not over. Look at this. Look at the fear and greed. Greed is 70 as of yesterday. 70. Why is it so high still? That's too many people thinking on the long side. I'd like to see it more in the neutral, almost to the fear zone. Even if it's just for half a day, 1 day, I'd like to see that. Maybe there's a fear and greed that updates more often, but at least for this one, 70 is quite high. I wanna see us more in the neutral to fear zone. I have trouble adding to my trade here, considering I'm already long. I have trouble adding to it here when there's still seemingly significant greed in the crypto market. So that's something to keep in mind, and that's kind of what I'm expecting from price action. Something like, we come down, bounce, we get rejected again here, we do this, and then we shoot up to 133, and that's going to be our next like resistance level where we get shot back down. And we'll do something like that for a while. We'll play on this zone for a while until we finally shoot up and hit this 4.669. That's usually how it seems to work. So that's kind of the playbook I'm working with here, and what I'm looking for. I'm not in a hurry. I made a lot of money. Hopefully you guys did too, but I made a lot in the stock market and also in crypto in the last month and a half. So I'm not in a hurry to give back those profits. I'm being extra cautious with my entries and taking my time, because this was when you make money, and this is when they try to take it away. Okay, see how this was just straight up where there was no entry? Now you've got lots of areas to enter, but you can see all these spikes on each side, right? You've got wicks and tails, a lot of wicks and tails here, while here you didn't have that much, because this is where they're running liquidations. They're trying to take back any profits that traders made on the way up. So this is when you're cautious right here. This is when you keep your profits. You even sometimes consider moving them off the account and just playing with the market's money. If you had profits from here, that's a good way to keep yourself from giving back your hard-earned gains. And that's exactly where we're at right now. And what I recommend is be cautious. The time to be super bullish was here at the bottom. I was shouting about it. This is the time to be cautious here, because until we have that next blow off move higher, you're going to have moves like this with these wicks and tails on both sides. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Kind of the same thing for altcoins. Like, look at Ethereum. All right, so 4 hour, still in a downtrend like this, right? Starting to come actually on the other side of the 4 hour. Look at that. That actually looks decent. That doesn't mean we can't go lower, right? I've seen fake outs on everything up to the daily chart, where it looks like a breakout and then it ends up being a fake out. And that's why, again, I'm stacking my longs. We could come down all the way to this 4,000 level. This would take out basically all of the late longs before we finally can move higher. So again, caution there is warranted. And let's see, this was our, yeah, so this was my original drawing, which I want to extend a bit. Yeah, there you go. So there would be your 1.618. And get rid of that. And this would be your 2.618, just barely tagged, with the final target being up here in 7,600 area. That's kind of the Ethereum zones I'm watching. You can see even on a weekly, right? We've got this consolidation since basically August. Ethereum hasn't really moved as much as Bitcoin, and it's just going through this consolidation period. Should bounce soon. It's just the question is, do we head down to this 4,100, 4,050 area before we bounce, or do we bounce from here? I'm not taking my chances. I'm not going to miss the move, so I'm just slowly adding to small positions. Hello, Lord Green. Hello, Raphael. A lot of different names here, I guess because of the time zone. It's a bit, it's a bit late for anybody in the U.S. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Someone mentioned Fartcoin to me recently, so I took a look at it. I'm not really interested until we get down here, like this 49-cent area, 50 cents, 49 cents. This is a major support level. For now, it's still in a downtrend. I'd be very careful with something like this. No real utility, right? So it's just a meme coin. It can easily go down lower. So be very careful. Something like Fartcoin. I saw a lot of people posting about Litecoin lately. Litecoin's looking quite strong here. Quite strong. My original forecast has been 210. So we're at 128 here. No reason why we can't go up to 210 or 226. That's 50% of from the bottom to the top from 2021. I don't see why that can't happen. Been in quite a long consolidation area. Now, it's not a great buying zone at the moment, but if you want to risk it for the breakout, it does look like it's starting to break out, right? This is kind of solid breakout on the daily chart, but you could see before there was a fake out, right? So this was a fake out here. You don't want that to happen again here. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would like to see like something like this, and then that would be a nice move on Litecoin. Let's see, even like lower time frame here. Yeah, lower time frame could give you a little bit of a pullback. You want to take out the late longs, so they come back down to like 122 area, even 121 before continuing higher. But this is one of those things where it's hard to judge. Now that the move has started, like the easy longs were here and here. Now the move has started, it's gonna be hard to catch it. This will be the next consolidation area, and then you can consider another long area. Well, that's Litecoin, because I know a lot of people were talking about that. So this is the total crypto excluding stable coins. I know this is a big thing that a lot of people like to watch. No real breakout on the weekly chart yet. If we see this breakout, this is going to really take off. But the cool thing is, if you look at this with a parallel channel, I think it nicely follows this parallel channel higher, right? That's kind of like that a little bit. It's my first time drawing it. I just saw it. Seems like a nice pattern there. Yeah, so you can see the midpoint is kind of respected. And you can see how we're on the upper end of the zone. I don't like that there's divergence between price action and crypto. That is a little bit concerning. We've got a pullback on the daily. It doesn't really look that different than Bitcoin. We're trying to turn here, but no confirmation yet. So that's just another chart to look at, which kind of gives you a view of the whole ecosystem and can sometimes be a bit more accurate than simply looking at, say, Bitcoin. No breakout yet, but I will set an alert in case that does happen. We do have divergence forming on the MACD. That's most of Bitcoin and crypto. I don't really know what else to say with that. As far as the S&P, you do have a TD9 printing on the daily. Every time this has happened, we've had some kind of pullback. You can see a 9 here, pullback, 9 here, big dump, 9 here, pullback, 7 here, pullback, 9 here, at least like a temporary dump. So it stands to reason that there's no reason why we can't get like a dump to here, right? Something like that down to 66.80. What do options say for tomorrow? 670. There's basically a wall at 655. Almost no calls. That's interesting. So 670 on the SPY. Where did we close out? 671. 668 is, let me see something. Worst case scenario, 665, 661. I don't know why they would go below that, but 665 would get you down here. Yeah, 665, 670. 665 would be basically around 670 here, which would make sense from a support level. This would be a major support zone. So that could happen going into tomorrow. Not guaranteed, but it could happen, and it is a major support area. So that's just like short term. Long term, looking at this weekly chart, you had a TD9 that hit also on the weekly. So naturally, I'm cautious, although these are not as accurate as the daily ones. You can see it was completely ignored here and just moved higher. This is the second one coming in, and it could also be just completely ignored. That's something else. But I wanted to point out on Bitcoin, which also applies to the S&P, about the global money supply. Yeah, if we go to a daily, right? Let me actually do it on a Bitcoin chart that doesn't have my scribbles all over it. There we go. A bit better here. Okay. Well, we can see how it essentially tracked up until about here. And now it's lagging quite a bit behind. This could be the potential spike. First drawdown, a little bit more of a spike, and then we get the next drawdown, maybe down to 116, and then we get that next move higher, which brings us up to that 130. Actually, if we line this up, bring us up to that like 135 area, which is semi-optimistic, but that's where I'm targeting. But you can see how liquidity is pulling back. We had this huge run up in liquidity, just pull rocket, and now we're kind of stagnating a bit. So we need more. This needs to keep going for us to see higher. Otherwise, I think we're capped at around 135 or so, unless I see this just spiking. So, and that applies to the S&P too. So if this is kind of stagnating, rolling over, the S&P is also going to start stagnating a bit. And so I'm positioned cautiously, still overall net long, but I have added some shorts via futures. If you have a lot of shares in different stocks, it also doesn't hurt to sell cash secured puts, or sorry, cash secured calls. You could sell calls against your position. and then you can make money on the stock not going up. If it does go up, then you basically are selling it at a higher price. Your shares will get called away. But if it doesn't, then you make a nice profit on the premium. So that's also another way to hedge the portfolio when you've got kind of signals like this. Hello, Miss K. Yeah, Zerkella, alts are disappointing. But if you want to look at BTCD, it does look like it's the mini rally that's been happening is coming to an end. See how it's just slowly moving up before it rolls over. You're going to get a hot and heavy rollover down to at least 51%. That's going to be your next support area. So this had to happen. You had a TD9 that hit. I talked about this before. So you're getting this consolidation before the next leg down. That's just what has to happen. Don't get too discouraged. There's a reason I'm basically 100% long in alts. I'm just waiting. And there's also a reason I'm just in spot, because I don't want to get liquidated. Who knows what can happen right before they take off. Better to play any kind of leverage with things like Bitcoin, where it's a bit more predictable. Altcoins really, they're really not predictable at all. Okay, so that's my thoughts on the S&P, Bitcoin, some altcoins. I still I keep talking about like ILV, speaking of like crappy altcoins, still looks like crap, but I still like it. I think it's bottoming here, and it could make a big move up to, even just 37. It has the highest potential multiple of anything I've looked at. That and like IMX gaming coin. So if you don't have any gaming exposure, this could be lucrative potentially. So these are a few that I'm looking at. I'm not saying we're going to get back to the 2024 all-time highs, but even just like 61.8, 78.6, that's like $3 from here. So on IMX, that's like 350%. I can't find many major altcoins that are presenting these kind of returns. So these are some of my bigger holdings. With stocks, most of my forecasts have already come to pass, and I made a lot of money on them. Tesla hit the top end of our range. It's pulling back on a daily. Weekly has a TD9. I'm not that bullish on Tesla anymore. I think it needs to reset. I want to see a pullback. I want to see this gap filled. If we go below 400, I'll start thinking bullish again. For now, I've taken profits on most of it, so I'm not really that crazy bullish on Tesla anymore. UNH has a TD9 also coming in on the weekly. You guys know that all here, I bought a ton. I've taken quite a bit of profits here and here. I'm still significantly long just with stock. No calls of any kind. But this 9 coming in has made me a bit cautious about where I see us going next. And you could even say that we're basically hitting this 38.2 if I make like if I use conservative fib levels. Yeah, you can see this daily is hitting in potential divergence. So we could see a retrace with UNH. So I'm cautious on the sidelines there. I also had a lot of Intel. It's done very well, hitting 50% here. We actually need to flip this. Yeah, so 50%. Selling targets up here around 78.6. So that's what I'm waiting for. I haven't really taken any profits on Intel, but I bought it way down here, so I've almost got a double. Very happy with that. AMD, I know a lot of people were talking about AMD. This was a great trade, and I regret that I didn't set an alert on this, because you could see here, right on the weekly RSI cross, that was your bottom. You could have bought here, and you would have made a ton of money. A ton of money. Now, why didn't I? Because I didn't look at it. I didn't set an alert. See how the weekly TD9 came in, by the way, and we got that brief pullback before bounce higher. People knew about the news all the way back here weeks and weeks before. These things don't just happen. So, something to keep in mind. Always try to set alerts if you're looking at too many names. Try to set alerts. That'll make sure you get into the name sooner. Another one that took off recently that has yet to hit my target, but I think it will once Bitcoin blasts higher. It's just consolidating now, is CANN. I think it's another like basically crypto kind of derivative play a bit. Here's kind of you got like two cases of two W's. There's like your very conservative one, right? So we hit that already. But then here's your bigger W, and you can see how we only hit the 1.618, and the final move is up here at 297, which is probably the 78.6, 88.6 level up here. So that's what I'm looking for, and I'm setting alerts actually for 187 and 297. I only have stock in this, by the way. I don't have I don't have any options of any kind. I don't have any options actually right now. Basically none. 0 options. I've also talked about natural gas, Henry Hub natural gas futures. So I'm watching this as well. I have the weekly breakout here. MACD's gone positive, weekly's gone positive, but we didn't get that full breakout just yet. We are on the other side of the trend line, but it could be a false breakout, just like this, right? That. It looks like it could potentially be a false breakout, but I am long in this via Boyle. I recommend caution with those because they do decay over time. So, you know, carefully consider any longs, but I could see this heading higher in the near future. It's just we're not at the seasonality yet. It normally happens in November, December, so a little bit more time to go. October normally pulls back, so this is very normal for October. But near the end of October, we should, you know, spike higher. Maybe this was a false breakout and we get a gap fill to 290, and then we move higher. Regardless, this is one play I'm looking at to kind of avoid the general macro. This should, you know, move higher regardless. Silver I saw took out off big time. We hit my target and exceeded it. 4.669 was my long-term target. But you're probably seeing it all over the news now. And the reason for that is because it's time to sell. You've got a TD8 here on the weekly. Could it go a bit higher? Yes. But the time to buy was down here at 23. And now you're hitting my 4.669 extension target. Breached the all-time highs here. You could probably look up what happened in 2011. Like what was the news cycle like and that kind of stuff, and draw correlations here. I don't see why we couldn't, you know, pull back to here 40, or even down to here $40. Get people to lose interest, and then we make that next move higher, eventually to the $78. I could see that happening, but I think if you check the news and stuff like that, probably a lot of people are talking about it now, and it's a bit late in the game to be buying. This is where if you were long silver, you want to consider selling. No such thing as triple top. A big boing. I don't know. Sorry guys if there was some kind of boing. Yeah, that's kind of all I have. I didn't want to make this show too long. Been talking for exactly 30 minutes. Did you guys want me to look at, oh, Dan asked for ENA. So ENA, yeah, it's not doing that great right now, but this was an expected consolidation. Now I thought we would punch through on the second one. We got rejected twice. So now we're just consolidating here. And again, this is why we trade spot, because you don't know when these things will happen. So right now it looks like it's trying to put in a bottom before eventually moving higher. I'm pretty confident it will eventually hit this target, 140% from here. Not a bad buying area. Ironically, this is the area where you'd want to be buying when you feel like it looks like crap. Yeah, 200. Yeah, it could happen. But I'm just saying right now, be cautious because you've got a TD8 happening on the weekly, and I think a lot of people are talking about it. Never a good thing if you see a lot of people speaking about something, if it's on the news every day, that kind of stuff. It's never a good thing. Hello, Karim. Nice to see you. So that's ENA. TIA, Oh, TIA's really... I don't know anything about this coin. All I know is this looks like crap. TIA. It really doesn't look great here. You do have a TD9 that came in on the weekly. And it looks like you are on the other side of the downtrend. You got a 9. You're on the other side of the downtrend. Prices made equal lows. This could potentially W out. And if that's the top line of your W and that's the bottom, maybe you go to 560. But I don't know anything about this. I don't know what it does. I can't really give a recommendation other than saying that it could go up 300%. I don't know anything about it from a fundamental perspective. So that's always an issue with altcoins. You have to check to make sure there's no way for there to be a rug pull, a massive amount of supply to get unlocked, so on and so forth. I mean, there has to be a reason this has just been selling off ever since it launched in 2024. You know, I mean, this was $20. Now it's down from the highs. Basically rug 93%. So not a great play, I feel like. But if you want to throw some money at it right now, this is probably the time to do it, right? This looks, you got TD9 on the weekly, you're on the other side of the downtrend line. I doubt anyone's talking about it. Yeah, you can see you rode the downtrend line down. I kind of like it. I think I will actually go and buy some of this. You know, but I don't, I'm not going to buy too much because I don't know anything about the fundamentals. Who asked about it? Dan, you asked about it. Do you know anything about TIA? Anything that promises me a potential 300% return, I get excited about. Any answer from Dan? No? Hello, Alexa. Look, everyone's joining just when I'm about to end the stream. All right, I'll take questions for the next like 5 minutes, and then we're gonna shut down. Any coins you guys want me to look at, or any stocks? My big message from the stream for the stream today is be cautious. It's been a lot of gains in the market, a lot. My portfolio is up like 130% year to date, and that's my conservative stock portfolio. That's insanity. It's insane. It's too much. So with that in mind, I recommend some caution. AR wants me to look at bull. Okay, let me look. Bull. What is bull? Webull. Oh, Webull. Okay. Wow, something happened here. Webull launches in the UE. Oh, Netherlands. Fjord can use Webull now. I didn't check out Sui, Raphael. I can look at it though. Weekly looks like poop. I mean, look, if this is a range, like this is your range, right? So this is the high of the range, and this is the low of the range. Your buy zone is here. Look how much time they gave you to buy. This is how you know that this is probably a good area to buy. You had, let's go down lower time frames. How much time did you have to buy there? You had exactly basically only an hour to get a good buy. Okay, and where did it tag? 11:39. That's how you know this is probably a good buy. Even this area is probably a good buy. I could see it heading higher because they didn't give you much time here. You had almost no time to get long. So from that perspective, I like it. I could see this doing well. You have a TD8 coming in on the daily. 4 hour also has a TD8. It looks like it's reversing. 1 hour chart looks strong. I could see this just moving straight up from here. Yeah, I like it. Now the next question is, where are we going to go? Where do I sell? Well, as Brian might say, you do whatever your plan says, but I'm going to show you a couple areas. So if you believe that this is a range, if this is a range, your sell is here, 15.63, 16.7, and maybe an extension at 17.45. Those are your 3 sell zones, if you think this is a range. If you think we're going to break out higher and this is not a range, you could do one of 2 things. You could go to a higher time frame. You could say, oh, this is like an ABCD, I think, and that's the levels, and this is the low, and I think we're going to go to like 1950, and I'll sell right before when everybody thinks it's going to hit 20. You could do that. Or you could say, well, it launched all the way up to here, so the entire range is actually $80 all the way to, or all the way to about $10. And you could say, I think it's going to go to at least 38.2, retrace $36. And then you could set yourself for there. So those are kind of your levels. That's a 200% return. And if you buy, I'm not going to go into looking at calls and puts, but if you go and look into them, I'm sure it could do very, it might work out. Another thing you could look at is you could say that this is going to be a giant W, right? There's your W. And then you use our little magic levels. And then you can say, okay, my 4.669 lines up with the 50% level, and my sell is at 43. Those are different ways to play this, all based on your risk profile. Or you could, mix and match them in 100 different combinations. For me, I like this. I think I'm going to buy it. I might even buy some right now, just straight stock, and maybe I'll buy some calls until the end of the year. I could see this taking a while. It might not launch tomorrow, but I could this huge amount of volume at these lows. This is a huge tell. Something's happening here, and I wanna get in on this. So I will buy some. If we breach these lows, I'll exit. So I'll set an alert right at $10 if we breach $10. So basically, let's say I think we're gonna hit this $40 area. So if I long right here at 12.50, I set my stop basically right below the lows, around like 9.50 area, right over here. And I set my target up here at, we'll be conservative. We'll go to $40, 39 something. That's a 10.5 to 1 risk reward. 20% loss to make a 220% gain. I would say that's a really good trade. Fantastic trade, actually. So thank you, AR, for sharing. Appreciate it. AVAX or Bonk? Okay. Glad you like the thumbnail, Alexa. Gemini, generated by Gemini. Much better than ChatGPT. Let me see, were there any other requests I missed? We did ENA, we did TIA, we did Bull. Raphael asked about SUI, so we can look at SUI. I'm going to leave TIA up. I'm going to leave up all the ones that I potentially want to buy. All right, here's SUI. I talked about it last week. It continues to kind of consolidate above this downtrend, walking down the trend. Same target up to $10. So it's just consolidating here. I'm sitting in spot. I think we head up here eventually once the second part of alt season happens. I've talked about this in previous videos. Short-term target, maybe $6.50, $7. You could even sell there. We might not hit 10. 10 is kind of like the stretch target. So that's what I'm seeing on SUI. I'm not going to waste too much time on it. I can look at AVAX. Similar thing where it's just kind of consolidating, right? Nothing too exciting. I don't see an area to get long here. This was the area to get long, around 17 bucks. Now you hit your 1.618, right? So you're rejecting from that, and you're kind of in the same zone is Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything. AVAX is big enough that it's going to follow the rest of the alts where, you know, this is just going to keep trending down until it hits some area and then it bounces. You're not going to know where, but then it's going to move up here. You're going to consolidate and eventually maybe hit the stretch target up here, like 66, when we get that massive BTCD breakdown like I've talked about. So that's AVAX. It's kind of standard. Bonk. Yeah, so similar, where you have this W, right? Expansion up to this 1.618, and eventually you could stretch up to this 4.669 target. I'm not confident in that. You might want to take profit at 2.618. But if you want the stretch target, you get a 300% return. I think there's better names than we've talked about today that offer a more secure return than something like Bonk. On a weekly chart, the RSI almost looks like it could break down, or it actually has broken down. So very close to breaking down here. It doesn't look particularly amazing to me. I think there are better plays. But if you like it, you can long it. I think it will probably go up with the rest of the market. I just think there's better things that we've looked at in crypto today. Okay, that's all I have, guys. Appreciate all the chatter and contribution. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Remember, there's been a lot of profits made in the market recently. Slow and steady, caution. Don't ape right now. I would wait, and kind of follow the dollar cost averaging into something strategy that I'm talking about and that I'm trying to do, because we don't know the exact area where this is going to bottom or when it's going to bottom. With Bitcoin, it could have bottomed already. I mean, I don't know for sure. This could be it. We could just bounce from here. Like, that's the fact. A lot of times I'm very confident in what is going to happen. Right now, with crypto, I'm not as confident as before. I think we will go up. The question is, do we do this first, or do we just do this? That's really, and that's going to determine everything in the crypto market. Wish I had a better answer for you guys, but that's how it is. And the best thing to do is just try to dollar cost average in. Don't get liquidated. All right. I will see you guys on the Discord. And if not, I'll see you here next week.